Welcome to another episode of Auto Intelligence Podcast, where we bring you sharp takes on the auto industry's most relevant topics. I'm Steve, joined by my colleague Claire, and we're part of the Auto Agentic team, dropping fresh insights every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
That's right, Steve. And whether you're enjoying your morning caffeine ritual or catching up later in the day, we've got an electrifying episode lined up for you. Today, on this special interview edition, we're unpacking how battery technology is reshaping transportation, from Teslas to electric dirt bikes, and what's coming next in this rapidly evolving field.
The battery revolution is happening right before our eyes. Did you know that solid-state batteries could potentially double EV ranges by 2030? Toyota is aiming to introduce their first solid-state battery vehicles by 2027, and Volkswagen has invested over $100 million in QuantumScape's solid-state technology.
Absolutely transformative, and we're seeing this impact beyond passenger cars too. E-bikes are outpacing traditional bikes in urban markets, with the global market projected to reach $53.5 billion by 2027. Meanwhile, freight electrification is emerging as the next frontier, with companies like Renault unveiling 600-kilometer range semi-trucks for 2025.
And later in the show, we have something special. Barry Hillier, CEO of Auto Agentic, will be interviewing Dan Turcotte, founder of Tear MX, Canada's first all-electric dirt bike track. Dan is at the forefront of how electric vehicles are revolutionizing motorsports.
I can't wait to share that conversation. Dan's track is pioneering a whole new experience that's tighter than motocross, faster than bicycles with these high-torque electric dirt bikes. But first, let's dive into the evolution of battery technology that's powering this revolution. The story of modern battery technology begins with some fascinating historical milestones. Did you know that lithium-ion battery development began in the 1970s? M. Stanley Whittingham developed the first lithium-ion battery while working at Exxon, which patented a lithium-based battery in 1976.
That's right, but it wasn't until Sony commercialized the technology in 1991 that we began seeing these batteries in consumer products. And what's remarkable is how far we've come since then. According to data from MIT and Bloomberg Neff, we've seen a roughly 97% price drop since 1991, with battery costs now approaching $100 per kilowatt hour.
That $100 per kilowatt hour threshold is considered the point where electric vehicles can achieve price parity with internal combustion engine vehicles. It's a critical milestone for widespread adoption.
The longevity of these batteries has also improved dramatically. Recent studies show that many older EVs, like the BMW i3, maintain approximately 80% capacity after 100,000 miles, with newer technologies expected to push lifespans beyond 15 years.
Battery chemistry is also evolving rapidly. The traditional nickel-manganese cobalt chemistry is now sharing the stage with lithium iron phosphate, which provide longer cycle life, improved safety, and eliminate cobalt, addressing serious supply chain and ethical issues.
LFP batteries have seen incredible adoption. While exact market share numbers vary by region, in China, which leads global EV production, LFP batteries now power a significant percentage of new electric vehicles, including Tesla's standard range models.
Research on solid-state batteries is accelerating too. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory and other research institutions are making significant progress, with projections suggesting solid-state batteries could reach mass production within the next 5 to 7 years.
These solid-state batteries replace the liquid electrolyte with solid materials like ceramics or polymers. This offers two huge advantages: improved safety with reduced fire risks, and potentially doubling energy density from today's 150 to 250 watt-hours per kilogram to 400 to 500 watt-hours per kilogram.
These battery advancements are driving the EV market forward at an incredible pace. In the US, electrified vehicles, including hybrids and fully electric models, continue gaining market share quarter after quarter.
Globally, battery demand is surging. The International Energy Agency's Global EV Outlook 2024 reports that demand reached approximately 750 gigawatt-hours in 2023, a 40% increase from 2022.
We're seeing a fascinating regional divide in EV adoption. Norway leads with an incredible 90% EV market share as of 2023, driven by comprehensive incentive programs and infrastructure investments.
That's right. Norway's success comes from a combination of purchase incentives worth about $2,000 and policies like planned ICE vehicle bans. This contrasts with the US, which is taking a more market-driven approach without federal mandates.
Freight electrification presents unique challenges. Alex Heil, senior economist at the Conference Board, notes that long-haul trucks need significantly more charging infrastructure than what's currently available to achieve widespread adoption.
The American Transportation Research Institute has highlighted that interstate corridors would need substantial investment in truck-specific charging stations for large-scale electrification, with costs potentially reaching tens of billions of dollars.
Beyond charging infrastructure, long-haul electric trucks face the challenge of battery weight. Current battery technologies can add thousands of pounds to electric trucks compared to diesel alternatives, potentially reducing cargo capacity. Companies like Daimler Truck and Volvo are working on optimizing this balance between range and payload.
Interestingly, many logistics companies are pursuing a phased approach. Companies like UPS and FedEx are focusing initially on electrifying last-mile delivery vehicles, where routes are shorter and more predictable, before tackling the more challenging long-haul segment.
Last-mile delivery presents the strongest business case for electrification. The Rocky Mountain Institute and other research organizations have calculated that electric delivery vans can reach total cost of ownership parity within just a few years of operation due to significantly lower fuel and maintenance costs.
Another interesting trend is the rise of return-to-base fleets, vehicles that operate from a central location and return each day. These are emerging as ideal candidates for early electrification because they don't need extensive public charging infrastructure.
Beyond passenger vehicles, we're seeing a revolution in smaller electric mobility. E-bikes are experiencing explosive growth, with lithium-ion batteries dominating this market. Many urban models now feature regenerative braking, cutting urban emissions while extending range.
The global e-bike market is projected to reach $53.5 billion by 2027, growing at a 12.6% CAGR. E-bikes offer a compelling combination of affordability, health benefits, and sustainability, particularly in congested urban areas.
Electric dirt bikes have undergone remarkable innovation too. Models like the Stark Varg showcase how electric versions now deliver impressive power at increasingly competitive prices compared to earlier generations.
This brings us perfectly to your upcoming interview, Claire. Dan's Tear MX Track is showcasing these advancements firsthand with high-torque electric dirt bikes that deliver up to 750 plus foot-pounds of torque.
Definitely. But let's also touch on commercial EVs. NIO's approach to battery swapping is fascinating. Their stations can complete a full battery swap in under 5 minutes, as quick as 144 seconds in some locations, creating an alternative to charging.
In the trucking sector, Renault Arsalt unveiled their 600-kilometer range semi-truck for 2025. This marks a significant advancement in tackling the range anxiety issues that have limited adoption in long-haul trucking.
We're also seeing growth in electric buses. Electric buses now make up a significant percentage of new bus sales globally, with China leading adoption rates significantly.
We're also seeing electric options in unexpected sectors. Construction equipment, agricultural machinery, and even mining vehicles are going electric. Volvo Construction Equipment has made significant commitments toward electrifying their compact equipment line.
The benefits go beyond environmental considerations. Electric construction equipment provides significant noise reduction, proving critical for urban construction sites and night work. Plus, zero local emissions improve worker health in enclosed spaces such as tunnels and construction sites.
You're listening to Auto Intelligence, sponsored by Auto Agentic, the pioneering AI-driven platform transforming automotive retail with intelligent solutions that empower dealership teams. Now back to our discussion about battery technology evolution.
Thanks, Steve. I think we should take some time to talk about how battery evolution is changing our day-to-day beyond cars and trucks, which is why I'm thrilled to introduce Barry Hillier, CEO of Auto Agentic, and Dan Turcotte, founder of Tear MX, for a deep dive into how the electric sports market is changing. Barry, take it away.
Thanks, Claire. I'm thrilled to be talking with Dan Turcotte. As you mentioned, Dan is the CEO of Canada's first all-electric dirt bike track, Tear MX, located near the Bay of Quinte, which is halfway between Toronto and Ottawa. Dan, can you tell our listeners about Teramex and what inspired you to create Canada's first all-electric dirt bike track?
Thanks for having me, first of all. Electric dirt bikes are very, very interesting because it's a fairly new phenomenon. There have been e-bicycles around a lot, but like full power electric motorcycles are fairly new to the market. They've really only been prevalent for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And they're really starting to gain speed now. I saw a really interesting opportunity because we own two motocross tracks, and both tracks had been shut down for noise complaints. And that's not a new thing. That's happening all across North America. As the population increases and people start building outside of urban areas, we're getting a lot more sprawl, and these dirt bike tracks are getting shut down for noise. So I saw a really interesting opportunity because, first of all, it was quiet. We weren't going to get shut down for noise because nobody can hear them. But the real interesting thing is it created a new opportunity for accessibility because people who have never ridden a motorcycle before can ride these bikes very easily. We can just tune them down to their ability level. You don't have to worry about shifting gears. You don't have to worry about clutches. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's like riding a bicycle. So it was really quiet. It was really accessible. And they're easy to maneuver. You can get some that are very lightweight as well. So it's just, I saw an opportunity. I got a few. I started small, and it took off from there.
How does the experience of riding an electric bike differ from a gas-powered dirt bike?
So riding an electric bike is similar in many ways. First of all, there are different types of electric bikes. There are electric bicycles that are electric assist, right up to full-size electric motorcycles. The majority of people that will come out and learn at our track are riding on sort of what we would call a midweight bike, which is somewhere between 115 and 160, 170 pounds. Those bikes ride like big, heavy mountain bikes. They're much, much, much easier to handle than a full-size motorcycle. They also have a little less horsepower. But the weird thing is they have a lot more torque. And it's very difficult to explain what the difference between torque and horsepower is without putting somebody in a car or on a bike. But the interesting thing about torque is that even our 115-pound student bikes that we put students on, when they're turned up all the way, they have over 200 foot-pounds of torque, which is about equivalent to an average minivan. So they have a lot of power. They just tractor up hills. They're very, very smooth, very, very easy to ride. When you get into the higher end bikes, like the full-size bikes, like the Stark Varg, which we've just partnered with Stark this year, they ride very, very similar to a regular bike, except the power is just out of this world. Interestingly enough, the Stark Varg was just outlawed from the X Games last month because it's just too fast and too powerful. That torque makes it the only bike that could physically do a quad backflip. Like it's just an unfair advantage because the bike is so powerful compared to a gas bike. And when you hit the throttle, you're not waiting for gas to go through a line. It's electricity. So your throttle response is instantaneous. So there are a lot of advantages to it. The biggest advantage for more experienced riders is you don't have the rotational mass of the engine. Now, this goes for cars as well in automobile racing. You don't have rotational mass of engine sort of countering your cornering ability. And so what happens is with a motorcycle, you have to lean the bike down. Well, these things feel like bicycles because there's no rotational mass countering. So you can just whip the thing around like it's a bicycle. But the same goes for automobiles as well. You don't have rotational mass actually countering your cornering momentum. So it's a really, really interesting experience. There are a lot of advantages.
We discussed how battery technologies evolved. How have advancements in battery tech impacted electric dirt bikes over the past few years?
Battery tech is just changing at a mind-boggling rate right now. So dirt bikes, first of all, they generally don't have the R&D budgets that the automobile industry does. So we get a lot of the trickle-down technology from cars. So for example, the majority of our bikes are using one of a couple of types of cells, like Panasonic, for example. Same kind of thing that might be in your car. But we wait for the automobile industry to do it, and then we use it in the bikes. However, there are a couple of things that have changed in the last few years that are about to change very quickly. Number one is energy density. Energy density refers to how much energy you can pack into a battery, into a certain amount of weight. And to give you an idea, a kilogram of fuel, of gasoline, holds about 60 times more energy than a current battery can hold. But the energy density of rechargeable batteries, first of all, you can use them over and over again, but the density of those batteries is changing, and they've been going up in the bike industry, we've been getting an extra kind of 15-20% every year or two, which is a lot, and it compounds. Secondly, the electronics technology to manage those batteries, so what we call the BMS or battery management system, which every electric vehicle has really improved as well. And so these vehicles have gotten a lot more efficient. They've gotten a lot smoother. It's really changed. So the really big exciting improvement though is coming now, and that's solid state batteries. So there are some massive changes in battery technology. They're really going to challenge our need for combustion engines. So solid state batteries, first of all, you had mentioned earlier that Toyota is going to be coming out with solid state batteries in the next few years. China is actually ahead of us. The biggest car company in China right now is electric car company is BYD. They're already in production for solid state batteries, and their cars are absolutely amazing. Actually, Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, was driving one, and he was raving about it and saying we really need to catch up because they are just so far ahead, and they're producing luxury cars that will compete with like a Tesla Model S that would sell if we didn't have the tariffs on them in North America for like $60,000, like half the price. So these cars are already happening, and they're based on solid state batteries. The other one is Cattle, by the way. Cattle is the largest battery manufacturer in the world. They're out of China as well. And we all have Cattle batteries in a number of our devices, and we just don't know it. But they are saying that they are about to come out with a very high density solid state battery that will charge 500 kilometers in 5 minutes, which is about how long it takes to pump gas for most vehicles. Complete game changer. Now the interesting thing with solid state batteries is there are a few differences. So first of all, without getting into the technicalities too much of how batteries work, batteries have this thing called an electrolyte. So they're filled with stuff that the electrons go through. So basically, when you charge a battery, electrons go from one side to the other. When you discharge it, they go back again. That's the real easy thing. But they're filled with a thing. So lithium-ion batteries are actually filled with a liquid electrolyte. It's like a gel. Okay, so think like almost like a motor oil sort of thing. A little heavier. It's a little weird. Anyway, the point is that liquids change viscosity as they get colder, which is why a lot of batteries right now in Canada, we lose 30 or 40% of our range, or Northern United States, we lose 30 to 40% of our range, sometimes even more when it's really cold. And that's because the electrolyte inside the battery thickens. And when it thickens, those electrons can't move through as efficiently. And that's why we lose range. Now, interestingly enough, solid state batteries don't have that problem because they're solid, which means that if we have solid state batteries in our vehicles, we won't lose range in winter anymore. And I can tell you as an electric vehicle owner, that is single-handedly the biggest problem with them. Charging, sure, it takes a little while. It's not really a big deal. They already charge pretty fast. But now add to that the fact that we will have almost double the energy density. So we're anticipating within the next few years, we should have batteries in cars that will do 1,000, 11, 1,200 kilometers, or 5 to 750 miles of range on in the size and weight that we have now. So it's about double what we have now, and these cars will be able to charge completely from 0 to 100 in like 15 minutes, which is absolutely crazy. When you can do that, it takes, like I can tell you as a pickup truck owner, I mean, I drive a Lightning now, but my old pickup truck, it would take 10 minutes just to fill the tank. And it costs a heck of a lot more to fill it with gas than it does electricity. So once you have all of these things, if the car's charged just as quickly and your range isn't reduced, but then you have all the added bonus of the extra horsepower and the extra torque and the quietness and lower maintenance and suddenly it becomes a pretty good value proposition. And the idea of needing a gasoline engine is not really there. So now I'm going to very quickly pivot back to motorcycles. When we're talking about charging speed and weight, that's a big problem with motorcycles because you need to charge very quickly because the battery is small. You don't have big batteries, and you also need to keep the weight down. But with these technological advances, it means that even if you're racing a motorcycle and you pull into the pits for 3 minutes, you can charge your bike. Suddenly, it means that we can now start racing electric motorcycles in the fuel classes, no problem at all. It's a complete game changer. I think in the next 5 years from now, we are going to see not only the motorcycle industry, but the automotive industry just absolutely getting turned on its head just because of battery technology.
So that's really interesting when it comes down to electric vehicles' range anxiety. is often mentioned. How are electric dirt bikes addressing this in competitive and recreational settings?
Great question. It's first of all, a lot of people that don't have electric vehicles have a lot of unnecessary range anxiety, but it is a real thing for dirt bikes. If you're dirt biking, let's say you want to go out for a woods ride, you're not cruising along the highway with a whole bunch of people. You're riding a single track, literally out in the middle of a forest with a GPS that you hope is going to get you home. If you run out of juice, you're in trouble. Like you're out in the middle of nowhere. So you need to plan. You need to plan very carefully. You also need to plan very carefully if you have a gasoline dirt bike. So you always need to plan. But electric bikes do have a lower range than gas bikes do. They do. And it's a problem. That efficiency that's been going up. So, for example, Stark Varg, the Stark motorcycles that we carry now, which are undisputedly the most powerful electric dirt bike in the world, their new EX Woods bike, their trail bike, actually has a 20% increased range. And I don't think that they changed the battery a whole lot. It's actually more the electronics and the battery management system. So that's how they're dealing with it. But aside from that, you need the proper charging infrastructure, and like anything else, the charging infrastructure is the tough thing to get around. Once you have it, it's really not a problem. It's not a big deal.
What is the charging infrastructure needs for your track?
So our track, most of our student bikes run off a standard 110 with discrete 15 amp breakers. I'm going to get really techie here, but for those who are considering electric vehicles, this might help. Most electric motorcycles up to 150 pounds and 12 kilowatts will just run off of a standard 15 amp breaker, which is just a regular wall plug. So, but because we have so many of them, I essentially had to put split outlets. So it's like, you have in your kitchen where you have discrete outlets for each to run your microwaves and stuff. So I just have a lot of them. For the big bikes, they require discrete 30 amp breakers, which is like a generator plug. It's those like 4-pin round generator plugs that you plug in and twist. So we've got a whole bunch of those. They're NEMA 30 amp breakers. It's not a big deal. We actually run our entire track still on a 200 amp service, which is what a lot of homes, most rural homes have. And we haven't run into power shortages yet, although we are growing. So we might have to go to a 400 amp service coming up. It's not a big deal. Like anything else with electric vehicles, you just have to plan ahead a little bit. Having said all that, the bikes charge very quickly. When you're dirt biking, you're not riding constantly. What most people don't realize is next to soccer, motocross is the most physically demanding sport in the world. It is exhausting. So generally speaking, if you're riding hard for 45 minutes, you need to take a break for a half an hour, which is about how long it takes for your bike to charge back up to 80%. So I think we've had one rider in 3 years that was really chomping at the bit to go, and he was like an expert level teenage mountain bike racer. His cardio was just absolutely insane, and we just couldn't keep the bikes up to the kid. But he was the Energizer Bunny, man. That kid did not stop riding all day. So that's the rare exception. Most normal human beings, we need to take breaks, plan ahead, and plug in.
Which demographics most interested in electric dirt bikes? Are they experienced riders transitioning from gas-powered, or are they newcomers to the sport?
That is an excellent question, and it's one that's harder to answer than I thought. There are really kind of two different demographics. So a lot of the experts and pros are a little bit hesitant to try electric bikes because, we love the stinky smell of our two-stroke dirt bikes, and we love the sound and. But the benefits of an electric motorcycle for anybody who really rides are undisputable. They're just so much easier to ride. They're more efficient. They're quieter. They're easier on the body. They don't vibrate, so your hands don't go numb. When you're racing motorcycles, these are a lot of things people don't consider, but you get numb hands because they vibrate so much. So we do have some of that, but what we've been finding at TerraMax is people that have always wanted to try it. It's kind of like everybody who wants to try skydiving once, or everybody that wants to try bungee jumping or whatever. It's a bucket list thing. This makes it completely accessible because anybody that can ride a bicycle can ride these things. And so we have had so many times where parents come and drop they want to bring their teenagers for a ride, and we're like, why don't you ride with them? Oh, I can't ride a motorcycle. Can you ride a bicycle? Then you can ride these. And the parents end up riding. and it's amazing. Like, we've had tons of moms who show up, with their families, and they don't want to ride. No, I'll let the husband and the kids try it. And the moms end up kicking butt. Like, they just absolutely kill it because they're lighter, they go a little faster, they're jumping. So interestingly enough, the demographic that actually gets hooked is not the demographic you would think. It tends to be a lot of families who want to try it as a novelty, and then a lot of them keep coming back year after year because the kids just won't stop talking about it.
Electric dirt bikes offer advantages in terms of maintenance. What does that look like for Terramex?
The maintenance schedule on electric bikes is so much less than what it is on fuel bikes. There are a couple things that you absolutely have to make sure of. For example, if a battery completely discharges, like down to zero, it can die permanently. And a comparison that I saw recently online, someone said, if my motorcycle runs out of gas, I don't have to replace the engine. It's a very, very fair point. So that is the real kicker. You can't let the bikes run down to zero. So over the course of the winter, for example, when you're storing them, or any time, you want to store them as close to that sort of 50, 55, 60% mark as possible. You don't want to store them fully charged. You don't want to store them with zero charge. But other than that, the maintenance schedule is amazing because you don't have to clean out carburetors or fuel injectors. You don't have to put fuel stabilizer in. You don't have to check exhaust systems. You don't have to do spark plugs. You don't have to do air filters. You don't have to do oil changes. You don't have to do any of that stuff. The bikes are so easy to maintain. I shouldn't say that. Some high-end bikes like the Starkvarg do have, or some of the other ones we have, like Admit Jets, do have transmission fuel, like gear fuel or gear oil rather. But that's not a big deal. It's a 5-minute change. But otherwise, there are no fluids to change. There are no jets to adjust in racing carburetors. There's no fuel lines to replace. There's no exhaust systems to bend up and replace. Literally, our maintenance schedule for most of these bikes, we pump up the tires, we check over all the brakes, we check the chain tension, go over all the bolts. We cycle the battery a couple times to make sure that the cells are balanced and put them out to the students. And all of that together is 45 minutes. Versus my gas bikes, I spend, I don't know how many hours a year keeping each of them running.
What are the biggest challenges for the growth of electric dirt bikes?
There's the standard, I think the standard answer, everybody would always say it's infrastructure and stuff like that. It's not. What it really is it's naysayers saying that we have to worry about batteries and what happens when you replace the battery. And the biggest challenge, the reason why people aren't adopting electric bikes is because there are a lot of people trash talking them. That's the real truth. It's really that simple. But the interesting thing about it is that an average dirt bike, like if you ride a bike competitively, an average dirt bike after a few hundred hours, it's toast. Like a few hundred hours of actual ride time, which is a couple of years, it'll be put out to pasture, and maybe someone will have it as their first bike, as a trail bike. But you might get 500, 600, 700 hours out of a dirt bike, and people always worry about batteries. An average battery right now that's in an electric motorcycle will get 1,300 hours, which means the battery will last through 3 bikes. The batteries last longer than the bikes do now, but people are still worried about how much it costs to replace a battery. So the real problem is not the batteries, it's not the infrastructure. Sure, range is a bit of a challenge right now. That's the only real challenge. It's not a challenge for most people, but the real challenge is the mentality. It's the block around how electric vehicles work.
And what developments do you anticipate for the electric motorsports over the next 5 years?
I think the really big development that I think is on its way in electric motorsports is determining whether electrics need their own classes, and this goes for cars as well as motorcycles. Like, for example, Pikes Peak, an amazing race. Electric, I think it was Mercedes, just blew the record away with their electric car, because one of the issues with Pikes Peak is there's a massive elevation change. And if you had a carbureted engine, how do you jet it? And then when you go to fuel injection, then how do you make sure that you have a fast enough air adjustability to account for these changes? Electric doesn't have to worry about any of that. The issue is that it comes to the point where suddenly electric becomes an unfair advantage because they're so powerful, which is, again, what I had said earlier. The Starkvargs have been outlawed from the X Games because they're so powerful. So I think what I'd like to see is I would like to see electrics be allowed to start competing against gas bikes. I think that would really start putting everything into perspective. And it used to be where you'd say, well, you'd see people who were motorheads, like me who would say, oh, well, they're electric bikes, they're not real bikes, blah, blah, blah. And now they're saying, well, it's not really fair. Well, if it's not fair, it means it's better. So why can't we let people race the fast ones? Because I want to see people go big. And what people are starting to do on electric bikes now is just crazy. It's awesome. It's a ton of fun. So that's what I'm hoping to see. I'm hoping to see more of an incorporation of electric vehicles into the mainstream. And I think once that happens, the mental blocks around electric vehicles will start lifting. And then what's going to happen is it's just going to make the sports more accessible, because once people get over the fact that they don't make as much noise, we won't have to deal with the noise complaints. And then we can all go ride our dirt bikes and race our cars. And isn't that really the point?
This has been great, Dan. Really appreciate your time today. Give a quick shout out. Tell people about TerraMX, and if they want to come down and visit you, how can they go about doing that?
Absolutely. So our website is w.terremx.com, TERREMX.com. If you Google electric motocross track, we're the only one in Canada. We love to, I assume there might be a lot of automotive enthusiasts and dealers listening to this. We do a lot of corporate team building in the automotive sector, interestingly enough, because people love to come out and see what batteries can actually do. And there's no more fun way to do it than go rip it up with your friends and colleagues on the dirt bike track. And by the way, the bikes are quiet enough that you can kind of trash talk each other while you're riding. So it's an amazing team building event. We're in Southern Ontario, so we're very accessible to Ontario, to Quebec, even upstate New York. If you're around there, come on up for a ride, camp out. Beautiful Prince Edward County is just nearby. The Bay of Quinte is nearby. It's a really beautiful spot and a super fun day.
Thanks a lot for your time today, and more importantly, your insights, Dan. With that, I want to pass things back over to Claire and Steve as we continue the podcast on the battery revolution.
What a fantastic interview and some great insights. Now let's build off of Dan's insights and discuss some of the challenges in the battery sector and the future outlook.
A major challenge involves supply chain risks. Lithium and cobalt mining present significant bottlenecks. According to multiple industry forecasts, lithium demand is projected to grow substantially by 2028, potentially creating supply challenges without new mining capacity development.
Recycling is increasingly crucial. Global battery recycling capacity continues to expand, with companies like Redwood Materials achieving up to 95% recovery rates for battery metals. This circularity will be essential for sustainable growth of the EV ecosystem.
Policy considerations are equally important. In the US, the Inflation Reduction Act is stimulating significant investment in domestic battery production, potentially worth tens of billions of dollars by 2030.
Battery chemistry preferences are evolving too. Industry analysts observe that LFP's cost advantage is making it dominant in mainstream EVs, while premium and luxury vehicles continue to use higher energy density chemistries where performance demands are greater.
Indeed, we're already seeing this play out. Volkswagen, Ford, and even Tesla have announced increased adoption of LFP batteries for their entry-level models, reserving NMC chemistry for premium vehicles.
Battery technology continues evolving beyond lithium-ion. Sodium-ion batteries, which use abundant materials, are emerging as a viable alternative for applications where energy density requirements are lower.
Companies like CATL and BYD, which Dan mentioned earlier, have begun commercial production of sodium-ion batteries, initially targeting energy storage and electric two-wheeler applications before expanding to automotive applications.
Solid-state technology remains the holy grail for the industry. Companies like QuantumScape have reported promising test results with their solid-state cells, demonstrating hundreds of charge cycles while maintaining capacity.
From solid-state batteries to electric ATVs, the energy transition is accelerating, but can infrastructure keep up with innovation?
That's the critical question. Battery technology continues to evolve rapidly, powering new applications across transportation sectors. Now we must ensure that charging infrastructure, grid capacity, and supply chains keep pace.
Thanks for joining this exploration of battery technology. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Auto Intelligence Podcast, dropping every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday with sharp takes on the auto industry's most relevant topics.
We'd like to thank Dan and Barry for a fantastic interview. Don't forget to check out Canada's first electric dirt bike track by visiting terremx.com and experience the next evolution in esports. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Which battery technology excites you most?
This episode was produced by the team at AutoAgentic, a pioneering AI-driven platform transforming the automotive retail industry. AutoAgentic delivers a powerful suite of agentic AI agents, intelligent, adaptive tools designed to streamline operations, optimize sales performance, and elevate the customer experience across dealerships.
AutoAgentic is LLM agnostic and deeply trained in the auto industry. What's critically important is that AutoAgentic is built to enhance your team's abilities and performance, not replace them.
What truly sets us apart is our human-centered consultative approach. We're LLM agnostic and deeply trained on the nuances of the automotive industry, but more importantly, AutoAgentic is built to empower your team, not replace it. As strategic co-pilots, we partner closely with OEMs and dealer groups to ensure AI implementation is practical, effective, and aligned with your goals. That's why we're known as the most human AI company in automotive retail, because we don't just deliver technology, we deliver trusted guidance. Visit www.autoagentic.ai. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Tuesday.